Welcome in, guys, and today, I thought, as the season's coming up to an end, as this regular season is coming to an end now, I thought I would talk about kind of some, well, not talk about really a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and that is Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals, which is, you look at the you look at the Bengals, you look at Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals. Uh, you know, I've been wanting to make this kind of for a while now because you've been looking in the last kind of 3 years, and you know what I mean. Ever since that 2021 Super Bowl, it's kind of been digress. You know, they've been kind of been on this downward slope since. And Zach Taylor, when he came in and when he uh, was hired as the Bengals head coach in 2019, like he had a couple of years where he was again. They tanked in his first year in 2020, so they got the first round pick, and then the next two, especially 2021, you could see what was going on in 2021, but there was still kind of those. They got Joe Burrow in 2020, and you're like, great, they got themselves a new quarterback now. They ditched Andy Reid, they ditched Andy Dalton, and they're looking at the future now, and they're going to build around the Joe Burrow and maybe be a contender in the AFC North. Um, and they get to 2021, and they win the AFC North for the first time since 2015. They win a playoff game. It's the first time in decades they win a playoff game. Beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and then they get to that Super Bowl in 2021, and they was going up against a really good Rams team who again went all in. Got Matthew Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, and all the rest. But you could really see how much Sean McVay and his game plan worked because he was really, again, much as that run to Super Bowl was great, and it's great for the Bengals to be back at the Super Bowl for the first time since 1988. But you look at that defense and that offensive line, which has been kind of the reason why they've been so bad in the last couple of years, is Joe Burrow got sacked about 6 or 7 times in the Super Bowl. And then you're thinking, 2020, 2022, you're thinking that they're going to come back in the draft and actually get their shit together. Again, 2022 comes along, and, you know, they just get back to back, to get into back to back championship games, but they lose to the Chiefs in the championship game. Uh, only, Zach Taylor's part of, been with the Bengals now for 6 years. He's only had over two 500 winning seasons, which was 2021 and 2022. Since then, he's missed out on the playoffs in the last 3 seasons. They've missed out on the playoffs. 2023, 23, 24, and 25. And it's always the problem where, yes, you've had some great weapons. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. I think Chase Brown's not been too bad of an option that you've had, and also you've had the franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. But it's the middle. It's really the offensive line that's really kind of screwed over the Bengals, and that was the problem in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, where Aaron Donald was dominating Joe Burrow, and there was no protection for your star quarterback. And it feels like to me they never know how to really address the offensive line, and it's just down to just once again in the draft. I feel like looking at the draft is very underwhelming. It's like you know it's a very underwhelming draft. They could have done a lot better than they did, especially even in the free agencies. But let's look at the last couple of the. So this is from the 2024 free agency picks. So this was basically only a year ago. So Geno Stone came in as a safety. Running back Zach Moss, which again focusing more on the running game, which is great. Mike Gillespie from the Patriots. You got Shelton Raskin, defensive tackle from the Texans, which is good. Again, you got Von Bell. Again, aging Von Bell at this point, but again, you got a guy who has a pedigree and a Super Bowl winning mindset, which was great on that defensive line. And then you go for Trent Brown, and you had him for a year. Logan Woodside for a year at quarterback, whatever. But again, you go 2023, and then you go for Semi Puan from the Chiefs running back again. Then you go, and then you've got to keep fixing the defensive tackles. You know, you're giving 2 year deal to Slayton, and Oren Burks gets like a 2 year deal from the Eagles. You bring in guys like Lucas Patrick to fix your offensive line. You kind of fucked up your kind of season there. Like Lucas Patrick, like what did you see in Green Bay, and what did you see in Bears football to make you convinced like he's going to be the guy to get you this elite offensive line and make you win a Super Bowl? You know, guys like Joe Giles Harris, and you know, it's just underwhelming additions to this roster. And then obviously, you know, you're giving T Higgins that big you're giving contracts out to like T Higgins and shit. And then you're finishing the next couple of seasons, like you're currently this season, you're third in the AFC North, you're 5-10, and you've got a rookie quarterback that not rookie quarterback. You give Joe Burrow that big deal a couple of years ago. Ever since then, he's had a lot of injuries. You know, he was out quite a bit this year. Last year he had a big injury. It's like the last couple of years he's been out because again the offensive line is not protecting him, and that comes down to again the front office. But again, Zach Taylor, I think he just wants to go one way, and he's just living off that Super Bowl run from 2021. It was great, but what have you done for me lately? I think it's again you've got to look at this and go maybe start to move on, because you don't want to look at this in a couple of years. Like you've got a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow, who is a really good, an elite level quarterback. You know, he's not better than like a Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. He's kind of like, I'll say third best. So you got Josh Allen, he's the QB right now, and then you've got Mahomes. Sorry, Mahomes fanboys, but Mahomes is second as QBs. And then you probably put like Lamar and Joe Burrow third. And you know, it's just like they're 5-10, or like they're really just not performing in the AFC North. Like, you know, especially when you're going up against like Lamar Jackson. Like, should be just Lamar and fucking Burrow going at it in that division. But yeah, I think it is time to move on from Zach Taylor. Look, he's done a great job to get the Bills, to get the Bengals contending again, to be a Super Bowl contending team. But you know, if you want to get over the hump, I think it's time to move on. And ultimately, Zach Taylor, you know, has to be moved on. Points for this season, like they're 13th in the league for points for, and points against, they're bottom of the league. Defensively and offensively, that is where the big problems have been. The secondary, again, I talk about the Lions and our really bad secondary that we have. You look at the Bengals, isn't really good either. But yeah, Zach Taylor has to go, and yeah, that's my thoughts.